Hey all, it's Tony Volpicello and welcome back to the Career Jigsaw podcast. We just wrapped season 3 and are knee-deep in planning season 4. But today, we're featuring an encore presentation of a season 2 episode titled The Emotional Advantage, Why EQ Outranks IQ. I am a firm believer that EQ plays a major role both in the workplace and in our everyday lives. So what is it? Why is it important? We'll give this replay a listen. So without further delay, here is our encore of Season 2, Episode 8. The Calm Leader.
A manager once faced a furious client in a meeting. Instead of reacting, the manager listened intently, validated the client's emotions, and calmly addressed the issues. The client later praised them for their professionalism, saying, "You solved the problem just by hearing me out."
The Silent Hero.
A team member stepped aside to let a colleague lead a project they were equally qualified for. They said, "It's your time to shine." The gesture fostered collaboration and loyalty.
The 1-minute pause.
During a heated argument, a team lead paused and said, "I need a moment to think." That small act of self-regulation diffused the tension and helped the team refocus constructively.
What do all these stories have in common? Great use of emotional intelligence. Hey all, it's Tony Volpicello. We are the Career Jigsaw. Welcome back. Honestly, today's topic deserves way more than a 20 or 30-minute episode. So my ultimate goal here is to get you thinking, increase your awareness, and help you be more effective immediately. So I have 2 goals for today. One is to give you a few things you can do differently to raise your EQ level. And then the second is to pique your interest enough to invest time in EQ and seek out learning opportunities. So what is emotional intelligence, which I will refer to as EQ for the remainder of the podcast? So here's a quick definition and its relevance in the workplace. EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions while also understanding and influencing the emotions of others. There's a combination here of what I call self-awareness and reading the room. So I have a question for you. Did you know about the concept of EQ before this podcast? If yes, great. We will not only reinforce what I think you already know, but perhaps help you revisit the topic for investment. If no, I promise to give you a new perspective on how you interact with others. So what is EQ? Which really is EI, emotional intelligence. But because there's a quotient there, it's almost measurable. It's referred to as EQ. But why does it matter? What is it? And how will developing it benefit you? Here's another question to ask yourself. Is it a strength or is it my blind spot? So I've had this topic on my list for a while now for many reasons. EQ can be an incredible tool, and I've always believed in its power. It's a skill I relate to in a very meaningful way, and one I've personally seen impact my relationships over time. So we will talk more about EQ and the workplace. So let me put the WIFM, what's in it for me, up front. Would you like to achieve more? Would you like to more positively influence those around you? Would you like to have better working relationships? And oh, by the way, would you also like to impact your personal relationships? Have you ever been on your way to a meeting or about to meet with someone one-on-one and you're already preparing yourself for the vibe? If I asked you right now to name one person who positively affects a room, I bet you can name at least one. And if I also asked you to name someone who you think brings a room down, who challenges, who you know is going to be tough, adds nothing to the conversation, I bet you can come up with at least one name even faster. I think about these people as affecting the chemistry of a group dynamic or even a one-on-one interaction. This is a simple way of beginning to think about EQ. Peacemaker or troublemaker? Brainstormer or sniper? Positive Patty or negative Nancy? Winner with grace or loser with excuses? Ever hear someone take pride in being a straight shooter? What they're really saying is, I'll say whatever I like, and I don't care how it makes anyone in the room feel. Translation, low EQ. Let me take one more opportunity to help you relate to EQ. So I've watched quite a few seasons of The Amazing Race, and I've noticed something about the winners. The pair that wins typically falls into one of two categories. The first, they have absolutely great chemistry, they never fight, they're extremely motivated, and they're very positive and react well during times of stress. Then there's the second pair, which is very different. One of the pair is a complete train wreck. It's great TV to watch, but they constantly need help. They require lots of support, and they need special attention during times of stress. But how does this pair still win? Well, their partner has high EQ. He or she was able to adapt to their partner based on the situation. I think it's really interesting to think about EQ in that dynamic. Now, there's a lot to talk about on this topic, more than I could possibly squeeze into a 20 or 30-minute episode. We won't do it justice, but the goal here is to give you a better understanding of what it means to be emotionally intelligent, and 2 or 3 tactical ways to improve your skills here. And trust me, there are plenty of tools out there for a more in-depth study. But I'm not here to convince you about the value of EQ. I need you to trust me and have that trust in EQ be your starting point. There are plenty of resource materials out there from true experts in the field that prove the point. Take a leap of faith with me that this topic has been studied, is extremely relevant, and worth your time today and in the future. Emotional intelligence is referred to as EQ, emotional quotient, because it draws a parallel to IQ, intelligence quotient, which measures cognitive intelligence. While IQ assesses logical reasoning, problem-solving skills, and intellectual ability, EQ measures a person's ability to recognize, understand, and manage their own emotions as well as the emotions of others. But let's be really clear on one thing. This isn't just about how others behave. This isn't about improving a skill so you can fix others. I would argue this starts with fixing and improving yourself first, so you have the ability to create chemistry and motivate others. This is about how you contribute as well as how you influence. So why does EQ matter? It matters because there's a strong link between EQ and teamwork, leadership, productivity, and workplace well-being. EQ can help anyone be a better communicator, build stronger relationships, make better decisions, and become a more effective leader. I want to be really clear about 2 points. Point number 1, EQ does not mean merely being nice. There are times when merely being nice is an example of low EQ. It's more about knowing what approach to take in a given situation. So there are many times when being very direct is exactly what is needed and a demonstration of high EQ. The point here is there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And point number 2, EQ does not mean letting your feelings run amok. It's not about leading with feelings 100% of the time, but it also isn't about leaving feelings 100% out all the time. It's about managing feelings so they are appropriate and effective. When reading Daniel Goleman's book, Working with Emotional Intelligence, I came across a discussion that I thought really hit home for me. It used to be that the expectation when an employer was hiring somebody is they relied heavily on IQ, on academic abilities, and what you technically were trained for. And that really now is not the case. Daniel argues that the new measure really does take for granted intellectual ability and technical know-how, and focuses much more on personal qualities such as initiative, empathy, adaptability, and persuasiveness. I would argue those are the things to focus on, not exclusively, but not at the expense of EQ versus IQ. So what does this really mean? Well, here's the key. There's a big difference between being able to do a job, having technical skills, versus having portable skills, skills you can take to a variety of roles. Now, this doesn't mean you can be incompetent, but what it does mean is that employers and managers place a tremendous value on EQ skills like leadership, motivation, and empathy, and somewhat less focus on technical ability. Think about it. You can choose from two doctors. Your first doctor is fully trained and very capable, and that's all you know about her. The second is she's fully trained, very capable, and has a great bedside manner. Well, who would you choose? I think it's obvious. And for managers out there, I've seen plenty of examples of leaders who didn't know every detail about something, but knew everything about how to inspire their team, influence at a high level, and were extremely adaptable and had the right level of self-confidence. So again, think about where you are today. You've probably invested a great deal of time in knowing technically how to do your job, but not enough time in EQ skills, which are more in demand. So how could you identify somebody who might have low EQ? Well, honestly, these are people who generally lack social skills, they can be defensive, and they're not open to criticism. So in working with these people, being able to identify this up front will help you make choices in how you handle them. And my last point before we dive more deeply into EQ. Here's a harsh reality for managers and employees of today. Companies are doing more with less people, making those people, those employees, more accountable. An ineffective manager or hot-tempered employee could hide before, but now with less people, there's less chance to get lost in the woodwork. Okay, time to dive in a bit into EQ and touch on 4 key components of emotional intelligence. The first is self-awareness. This is being able to recognize your emotions and their impact on decisions and actions you make. Can you see yourself as an outsider looking in? Do you know how you typically react to things like change or bad news? So a way to invest in this and get better at it could be something like journaling every day. Taking a step back to reflect on the day and really take an objective look at how you handled yourself. Mindfulness practices can also help here. The second is self-regulation. Okay, I'm self-aware, but now how do I control myself? Awareness after the fact is all well and good, but how do you get better next time? How can you get better at self-regulating? This really comes down to managing your emotions, staying calm under pressure. So another way to invest here could be some deep breathing exercises, pausing before reacting, being very intentional, listening more, giving you a real chance to understand without reacting, exercising self-restraint so others are heard, hold back your opinion. And one way to practice this real time, in the next upcoming meeting or interaction that you have, practice this self-regulation, this self-restraint. Listen more, breathe a little bit, pause before you react, but be intentional about the next meeting or the next interaction. Number 3 is motivation. I like to think about this as positive energy with a sprinkle of confidence, which also can be very key here. So this is maintaining drive, optimism, and resilience. And this may not be one of your core strengths. So one way to get better at this is to adopt a growth mindset when trying to overcome workplace challenges. So think about it. Are you great at pointing out a problem, or are you even better at coming up with solutions? Point number 4 is around empathy. This is understanding others' perspectives and emotions, almost feeling what they're feeling. Can you say back to the person what their perspective is? And can you refrain from using the word but? So if this is a challenge for you, I would go out and research how to practice practical strategies for active listening and validation. Not everybody is automatically empathetic. Some have too much of it, Some don't have enough. So investing in this skill here will be key. So where's the payoff of EQ in the workplace? Well, EQ can help with conflict resolution. High EQ can help you resolve conflicts you are personally involved in, as well as helping you resolve the conflicts of others. High EQ will help you address disagreements constructively. Another payoff is around team dynamics. There is a huge importance of empathy and communication in collaboration, and higher EQ teams achieve better results. Another key payoff is around leadership. Why do the best leaders have strong emotional intelligence? Because they lead with empathy and authenticity. Another key payoff of EQ in the workplace is having adaptability in times of change. Staying emotionally resilient during layoffs, restructuring, etc. will be a big benefit. Think about it. Do you feel better when you're negative and critical all the time? Does it really help? And do you think people really want to be around you during these times of change? So again, the payoff here is being better at conflict resolution, having stronger team dynamics, being a better leader, and being more adaptable during times of change. Now let's talk about ways to improve EQ at work every day. So here are 4 practical steps to improving EQ at work. The first is daily practicing. Think about your emotions during the day, check in with yourself, and assess whether or not you handled it correctly. Also, think about active listening and some self-reflection. Second would be building empathy. So seek feedback regularly and practice perspective taking, not perspective sharing. Also, think about some of the tools and techniques you could apply. I mentioned before journaling every day, really writing up a recap of the day, how it went, to learn from it. And there's also some great tools out there around meditation and EQ development. And then celebrate the small changes that have big impact. Celebrate those small wins in improving your interactions with colleagues. So if I were you, where would I begin to invest my EQ development? Well, I would choose one or more of these areas, which all really are social skills, but I want to go through them, and I've got 7 to share with you today. The first is your influencing skills, the power of persuasion. The second is your communication skills, listening and convincing. The third is conflict management, negotiating and resolving. Fourth is leadership, how you inspire groups and one-on-one. The fifth is being a change agent, either starting it or managing it. The sixth is building bridges and collaboration, creating strong bonds outside of your existing team and working with others. And then the seventh is trustworthiness. Do others perceive you as being all about you and trying to get ahead at the expense of others, or as someone who's all about the team first? So I hope those 7 give you a good jump-off point as where to invest your time. So to help you do this and further your EQ journey, the first step you really need to take is some self-assessment. So here are some questions to ask. Are you aware of your emotions and the role that they play? Can you self-regulate? How do you act when emotions are high? Can you remain calm and stay cool? Are you good at adjusting your communication style based on what's needed, not just your gut feeling or knee-jerk reaction? And what is your communication style? Are you always positive Patty, or are you always Harry the Hammer? Or do you intentionally adjust based on situation and need? Are you empathetic? Not everyone is. Some lack it, some have too much of it. This is a takeaway question for you. It's not a yes or no yet. You need to go find out more. And I touched on this earlier, but I think it bears repeating. So here's a bit of a closing thought. Emotional intelligence isn't just a workplace skill. It's a life skill that makes us better colleagues, leaders, and human beings. So if you're looking for resources out there, there are plenty to help you take a deeper dive. If you just do a Google search or a ChatGPT inquiry on emotional intelligence, that alone will yield you a ton of results. And Daniel Goleman is a great author with a ton of resources on this topic. So let me wrap with again defining what EQ is. EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, while also understanding and influencing the emotions of others. I think this Maya Angelou quote captures it best.
People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
So my hope is that this somewhat brief discussion got you thinking about your own EQ level and how to raise it. Now be kind to yourself. I strongly believe EQ will always be a work in progress, but a skill very worthy of developing. And the payoff isn't just inside the workplace. That's it. We are a wrap. And if you like what you heard, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. This is Tony Volpicello. We are the Career Jigsaw. Thanks for listening. Be safe, all.